Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market. And I guess if you didn't know, we had some hot CPI data come in. And I guess yesterday's video was titled just perfectly, right? This data will move stocks tomorrow. It sure did. It just moved them down. And even before we got the CPI data, though, guys, as I put in the morning news brief with all the earnings, we were already having popular stocks going down 10, 15% just on earnings. And they didn't even go have bad earnings. That's what's funny about it, but they've been running up, right? And so if you don't think that CPI data gets leaked and looked at early by the big movers and the big boys, you're mistaken, because they were already selling those stocks down even before the data hit to the mainstream public, okay? And then, of course, once it hit, most of those stocks are already down enough. They didn't really move too much after that, right? It was the other stocks that weren't down. And, we'll look at a couple of stocks. And again, this is not a fear mongering channel. So we're going to take a 5,000 foot view of the actual stock market, the stocks that matter the most in the market, and then also looking under the hood on CPI, because again, this data, the way the Fed collects it, is embarrassing, to be honest with you, because it's so archaic the way they do it. So a lot of the data is old anyway. And again, we can only go off what they give us. Do we really believe inflation's come down really fast? Sure, I guess, when you look at it. But if you didn't know, obviously CPI came in, and it is actually a lot higher than people expected. So it didn't even come close to what they actually wanted on headline or core CPI. And core is really the one the Fed looks at the most. So definitely keep that in mind. And again, as these numbers get lower and lower, these targets are going to be harder to hit. So it's going to be an up and down thing. We're going to hit it sometimes. We're not going to hit it sometimes. The funny thing is, 2/3 of the monthly headline increase in CPI was from shelter, as you can see. Big old spike there, right? And of course, the way they collect that data is stupid. It's very old, right? They won't use any of the services that actually keep it going and do this for a living. And so they'll literally call your house and say, what can you rent your house for, and things like that. And you can see this is the year over year. If you didn't include it, would have been a lot better looking, right? That's for sure. But if you look at it from the core perspective, CPI core services minus housing increased by 0.85% month over month, which is the largest increase since April 22, as you can see by this chart right here. And so, again, you're looking at a bunch of different perspectives. The Fed likes to look at the core. That's what we're looking at. But also understand very clearly, this isn't about us, the consumer, having to pay higher prices. The Wall Street could care less about that, okay? Again, half of us could disappear tomorrow, and they don't care. That has nothing to do with it, okay? Because the way they would look at it is, oh, that's people, businesses don't have to pay anymore as employees. Great, let's raise it, let's run the stocks up. I say that jokingly, of course. But what they care about is what? What does hot CPI do for the Fed? What does it make them not do? Cut rates, okay? Lower rates for the soft landing narrative. That's what it doesn't do. And that's why you saw March just completely disappear, right? Now all of a sudden, 92% chance there is no rate cut. I think we all know there's no rate cut in March, right? Unless something crazy happens. And then the big one, though, was May. This was the most drastic change, right? This right here, all of a sudden now 64% say probably not going to be a rate cut. So that means no rate cut until at least June, most likely. This can change. We can get new data out, but this is a huge shift, because just a day ago it was only like 36%, and it's gone up to 64. So that is what the market cares about. And so that's what you need to understand. And yes, is cutting rates a good thing for the economy? No, the only reason the Fed usually cuts, okay, 90-something% of the time is if the economy is slowing down and they're afraid they're going to run us into a recession. Okay, that's why they normally do it. There has been, like I said, in 2019, July, they cut rates. Why did they cut rates? Because the president was beating them in the ground about it. He's saying, you're going to run us into a recession. You're going to run us into a recession. And I've showed members, probably not you guys, how absolutely 2019, the economy was not strong. The economy was slowing down, right? You could see it in the cycle as far as new orders and everything else. So you can just see it right there. And that's why I think they started cutting rates in July, okay? And so again, that's why they keep painting the soft narrative. Could it happen? We'll see. I mean, I'm putting a members video out today. I put out once a month about recession watch, right? And all the indicators we look at and what we're looking for and stuff. Now, S&P simply did what? Fall right back down in this channel, almost right dead in the middle of it. Okay, actually had a big run up in the last 15 minutes there. And we go to a shorter time frame here on the 15-minute, the level to watch right there. You can see it. That is the last week's low. What could happen, of course, what I was hoping happened today is we would dip below that and then form like a bullish structure moving back up. That would have been nice. But you can see today when it started to rally, how it filled that RTH gap right there. Do you see that? To the penny before it started selling back down, and then had that crazy little run up in the last 15 minutes of the day. And so we'll see, because tomorrow we got economic data coming out that could move markets in the opposite direction. Now, before we look at the major stocks that will move the markets in either direction tomorrow, last time I'm going to say this for you guys, I know you like me to keep you updated, is that Seeking Alpha still is going to be doing this sale until February, was it 14th, Valentine's Day, I believe. And again, if you go through the portfolio here, you'll get some experts that run this portfolio, and they'll shoot you out the picks. You can see some of them right here, like SMCI. You'll get detailed rundowns of these stocks sent to you, so you'll get to understand why they're buying or selling. Again, you'll get the emails for the buy alerts, sell alerts. You'll get to actually go on conference calls, webinars and stuff to see what they're doing, why they're doing it. And it's going to be a whopping $89. So initial price there. So go ahead and jump on that. Just hit the link down in the bottom of the description if that interests you. And so when we go through here, guys, and look at the big stocks, right? Like Google, what is it? It's in this rising wedge pattern, sitting at a nice support level, right, when it fell down today. Microsoft, again, this one right here, you can put it as a wedge if you pull out. I just put it as a channel, either one you want. But again, sitting right in the middle. Can it move down farther? Absolutely. Look at it, Big Daddy Apple, sitting in a rising wedge. What's curious about this one, though, is there's the all-time high right there. So it's still got a ways to go. But when you look, pull up the moving averages, and guess where this puppy is sitting again? Right there at the 200. That's where it bounced today. Now, again, the last, 3 times you had 2 bounces, 1 drop through, before that dropped down. So either way, you got the 200, and then you got that trend line that's bounced off of it twice, actually 3 times, excuse me. So will this be the 4th, or will it just bounce on the 200 and keep moving up? Because the Apple loves 200 moving average. And if it bounces, what do you think the market's going to do tomorrow? And then that leads us into a few stocks that are just sitting up here like this little island, right? They gapped up on earnings. They're just sitting in a very small little range right here. Will they have an island reversal? That's what we got to find out. If we get weakness, of course they're going to have that. There's no doubt about it, right? Netflix, same thing. Gapped up on earnings, just sitting here. It's actually sitting right there in that fair value gap I told you about, the weekly fair value gap. So it's having a reaction down, which is normal, as it's mitigated half of it now. But again, will there be an island reversal? We'll get to find out, okay? Amazon, same thing. This one gapped up on earnings, you can see. What's below it? Again, a gap. The one thing about this one, though, is there's a whole bunch of support right below in that gap. Remember, that was supposed to be a problem to get through, but instead it just ran right through it and gapped above on earnings. Now, AMD finally broke down on this one right here, came to support, which was the previous all-time high. That's what saved it today. Again, when we look at NVIDIA, this one right here just makes me laugh. It's a blip on the radar, right? When you look on the daily as far as this move down. But what's so crazy about NVIDIA, and we talked about this before, when you scroll into this, again, if it breaks down, just look at that trend line right there. I think it's 59 or something, where it'll find support right there if it does come down. But when you look at this one on a smaller time frame, watch the recovery on this one. It's just amazing. Thing drops down, what is that, 3.5% right there? And then look at this recovery. I mean, immediately before any other stock, right? It recovers like that. Now, of course, why did it recover like that? That's the big question. It's like, I don't understand. What have I told you? I swear I'm like a broken record on this, but the last, 6 times now we've seen this thing show any weakness whatsoever. What happens? They come out and do a price upgrade. Once again, this thing hits, right? I mean, it hit like right at open. Boom. We're going to raise our price to $850, right? I'm telling you, the last 6 times this thing shows weakness, I keep showing you the price upgrade. They come out immediately to push this thing back up. Can't you just picture them? I mean, because we all know that these guys, collaborate together. They're not supposed to, but that's what they do, right? It's a gray area. But you can just imagine, going, hey, Bill, it's dropping. We need a price upgrade. Why me? Why do I got to do it? I did it last week. It's your turn. What are you, okay, 850? 850 sound good. Just get it out fast. It's dropping. And then they send it out, right? And next week they'll, Susie, we need a price upgrade on NVIDIA. We got to keep it going, baby. And I can tell you right now, because for this channel, I follow social media and stuff, and these traders and stuff. I'm telling you, man, they were running the 800 calls all day. Rinse and repeat, baby. Rinse and repeat. They buy it at 1,700, sell it at 2,100. It'd run back down. You can see on the chart, they would come back down. They'd run an 800 call back up. For those who don't know, what happens is, remember, this is traders around the world doing this, right? So maybe it is more popular trading stock than Tesla right now. Maybe it's taking the king or the top, spot on that. But what they do is market makers sell them the calls, And when they start running it up, market makers have to hedge, right? Because they're on the other side of this and they'll have to buy the stock. And they run it up and then it rinse and repeats. They sell it back down. They go, and you can see them all over Twitter. And they have like hundreds of thousands of followers. And they say, going back in the 800 call on NVIDIA, multiple. I saw it 4 times a day, right? And you're like, what the heck? And so it was just crazy to sit there and watch that. But that's what they were doing. And that's why when I say, because somebody else in the comments, what do you mean traders on the market? There's more traders than there's ever been in the history of the stock market. I'm talking about millions around the world that follow this stock market, have all these groups they're in and stuff. And so when one person puts out a tweet, 100,000 people are starting to roll in this thing, right? And that's just one group, many groups like that, right? And so when it comes to these stocks, when it comes to Tesla, all these other ones, that's why you see they're so hard to get the push down, even when they should, right? And that's why you're seeing like stuff like this, right? With ARM, look at this thing. It's finally come back down to earth. But the valuation is higher than NVIDIA, like 3 times or so. No, sorry, twice. Yeah, twice on the price to estimated sales. You're seeing it with ARM. You're seeing it with SMCI. And so when I put that little chart out yesterday showing Cisco and then NVIDIA, I'm just saying, I'm not saying it should happen. What I'm saying is that's the craziness that you're seeing. You think it's crazy now. It can get crazier, right? It really can. That's what you're seeing in NVIDIA. At least it has earnings. But when you start to see these semiconductors that really they don't even hold NVIDIA's jockstrap, and yet they're freaking just going through the moon, being squeezed and squeezed. And SMCI, they're coming in and out of that thing, right and left, right. That's when you're like, okay, AMD, NVIDIA, fine. These other ones, you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here, right? And when you're looking at your fear and greed index, it's all in extreme greed now, right? Now they won't be starting tomorrow. I assume they won't be there. But, you kind of, are we overdue for a pullback? I think we don't agree. Yeah, overdue. We're going to get it. That's what we got to wait and see. And a lot of people are picking NVIDIA earnings to be that catalyst. It's okay. Can they hang the moon again? That's what you got to look for. Can they hang the moon again? Because they're the king of AI. This is an AI pump. That's what this has been, right? This whole year and a half, whatever it's been now, is AI, okay? And so if NVIDIA falls, everything else is going to fall with it. But as long as NVIDIA stays standing, everything else is going to stay with it. It's just the way it is, whether you like it or not. I'm just trying to put that out there to you. Now, Tesla. Only I'm looking at on Tesla here, it ain't perfect. It ain't textbook, but boy, this sure looks like an inverse head and shoulders on the hourly to me. And so we'll see if it's filling out this right shoulder right here, which means it needs to bounce around that 182-ish level right there. Again, that's a terrible neckline. Let me re-erase that. But that would, put it around having to break up above right here, which obviously would fill that gap. If we sit here and try to measure this out, which again, I don't look for these to actually play out to the T or anything. You're just taking it from the neckline, from the head, move it up. Okay, let's see. Right here, I don't believe that's going to happen, but at least fill the gap. Okay, so that would be a big move there. We'll see if that plays out on Tesla. Again, you saw some flows finally coming in today. We'll see if we get some more call flows. Now, earnings, you're looking at really more for the consumer, right? So Kraft Heinz, Sony, these kind of stocks have not been doing good on earnings. Then you come over here and you got, Twilio, however you pronounce it, Oxy, there's Cisco, look at that. Fastly, Upwards, QuantumScape, so a lot of high beta stuff right there, after hours. And you will have some information and some data that could move the markets up if it comes in good, and that is core PPI, right? And so look for that right there, a lot of Fed speakers. And of course, it shouldn't matter, but you never know. A 17-week bill auction at 11:30 would think that would not affect the markets, but right now you just don't know. So after a big move down today, what's been the play is what? To have a green day the next day. That's what's been happening. Dip buyers just rolling in, right? And at the end of the day, what were they doing? They were pumping this thing in the last 15 minutes like crazy. It was almost, like a 0.85% move up. So let's just round it to 1% on the Qs in less than 15 minutes at the end of the day. I mean, just running it up, no doubt about it. And I can almost bet money what was happening is people were going into calls, right? Trying to ride them in tomorrow. We'll see if that's the way it plays out. That's the way it's been playing out since at least November. Big red day equals green day the next day. Okay, and this is what I was talking about. Remember I said, it was a Monday's video or yesterday's video, I said, sure is fishy, them running up small caps and all this, housing, everything that has to do, it's real sensitive to interest rates and not running the SPY and the Qs up, right? And that was fishy, right? Especially with PPI coming out the next day, and now you know why they did it. Okay, so they dropped that baby. Boom, see ya. And so that now at least you know. So it's like retail is used as exit liquidity once again. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Again, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Put down tomorrow in the comments if you think it's going to be red or green tomorrow, if we get a bounce back or something like that. And again, my stance is simple. We're overdue for a correction. And when I say correction, I mean I'm talking about 5 to 10%, somewhere in there, right? And that's not a lot, to be honest with you. It really is. For stocks, it'll seem like a lot, especially the ones that ran up a lot, the high beta stuff that runs up like crazy. But that's not a lot. That's just a healthy market. Okay, but again, you have to get over all the pumping stocks, and so it's good to see ARM finally coming back down to earth right there. I think it dropped 20%. It's down like 40 or something percent over the last couple of days. We'll see if SMCI continues to do its thing. We'll see if NVIDIA keeps getting upgrades, that kind of stuff, leading to earnings. But don't forget, this Friday is a big monthly OPEX. And so that's another thing. That's why you're seeing a lot of volatility happening right here. So keep that in mind. So anyway, hit the like and subscribe button on your way out. Really appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow.